design, create, communicate. I want that.
Welcome back to the Deep End. Today, we are diving into something that, at first glance, feels like pure administrative homework. It sounds like the kind of thing you pay an accountant to worry about so you can go back to doing the real work.
Right.
But as I've been reading through these sources, I'm realizing that's completely the wrong way to look at it.
It is. If you treat this topic as just paperwork, you are missing the forest for the trees. You really are.
We are talking about business structures, sole proprietorships, partnerships, corporations, cooperatives.
The whole menu.
Whole menu. And looking at the stack of research, specifically this analysis, forms of business ownership in Canada, and the BDC's guide on how to choose your business structure, it just struck me that this isn't about filing forms. It's about identity.
Identity is the perfect word for it. In the eyes of the law, the structure you choose defines who you are.
Really? Like legally?
Absolutely. It defines how the government sees you, how the tax man treats you, and perhaps most terrifyingly, it defines who takes the fall when things go wrong.
It's the DNA of the enterprise. Whether you're launching a tech startup, opening a bakery, or just doing some freelance consulting on the side, you have to pick a vessel for that ambition.
You do.
And the menu of options in Canada is, well, it's not exactly a straight line, is it? It's a series of trade-offs.
Everything in business is a hide-off. We are going to analyze these structures through what I call the strategic triangle.
Okay.
Imagine a triangle where the 3 points are liability, control, and values.
Liability, control, values.
Okay.
Break those down for me before we jump in.
Sure. So liability is the risk factor. Specifically, what do you stand to lose if the business fails or gets sued?
Okay.
Is it just the money in the register, or is it your house?
The stakes. Got it.
Right. Then you have control. Who is in the driver's seat? Is it just you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to answer to a board? Do you have to vote on every decision with 100 other people? Who calls the shots?
And values. What does that mean here?
That's the why. Is the primary engine of this machine designed to generate profit for investors, or is it designed to serve a community or a purpose?
I really like that framework. It's kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure book.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Every entrepreneur starts on page 1, but the path you choose, the structure that determines which monsters you have to fight, and how much gold you get to keep.
Exactly.
So let's start at the beginning. Page 1, the default setting, the sole proprietorship.
The sole proprietorship. This is the simplest, most common form of business ownership in Canada, and the reason is friction, or rather, the lack of it.
It seems almost too easy. The sources imply that you can basically just start.
You can.
If I want to start Host Speaker's lemonade stand today, I don't need a lawyer. I don't need a board of directors.
You don't need any of that. In fact, if you are operating under your own legal name, let's say you are just doing business as your own name, you often don't even need to register with the province.
Seriously.
You just wake up, you offer a service, you get paid. You are the business.
You are the business. That sounds empowering, but also a little existential.
It's a literal legal statement. There is no separation. You and the business are the same entity. In the eyes of the law, one and the same.
Okay, but there's a nuance here about names that confused me a bit in the reading. It mentions trade names.
Right.
So if I decide I don't want to use my own name, but I want to call it the Deep Dive Consulting, that changes things.
It does. That's a trade name. It's basically a mask.
A mask. Okay.
And the government, understandably, wants to know who is wearing the mask. If a customer has a problem with the Deep Dive Consulting, they need to know who to sue.
Fair enough.
So if you use a name other than your own, you generally have to register that name with the province. It's a small fee, usually involves a name search to make sure you aren't stealing someone else's brand, but it's still relatively low friction.
Now, here's something that I think trips a lot of people up. I've had friends who start a side hustle, selling crafts, doing some freelance writing, and they immediately panic about taxes.
Oh yeah, the tax panic.
They think, I made $500, I need a GST number immediately, or the CRA is going to kick down my door.
That is a very common panic, but the BDC guide is very clear on this. There is a threshold.
The $30,000 rule.
Correct. You are considered a small supplier until your global gross revenues exceed $30,000 in a single calendar quarter or over 4 consecutive calendar quarters.
So wait, until I hit that line.
Until you hit that line, you are not legally required to register for a GST-HST account.
So if I'm just making, say, $15,000 a year on the side, I don't have to charge my clients sales tax.
You do not have to, no.
That seems like a win. I mean,
Yeah.
less paperwork for me, cheaper price for my clients. Why would anyone register before they have to?
Well, this is where the strategy comes in. Why might you want to volunteer for extra paperwork? Think about your expenses.
Okay, I have to buy a laptop, software, maybe a desk.
And when you buy those things, you pay sales tax on them.
Regards, yeah.
You pay GST or HST. If you are not registered, that tax is just a sunk cost. It's gone. But if you are registered, you can claim input tax credits.
Wait, explain that. What does that mean, input tax credits?
It means the government effectively refunds you the sales tax you paid on your business expenses. You subtract what you paid from what you collected, and you only send the difference to the government.
Oh, I see.
So if you are in a startup phase where you are spending a lot of money, maybe buying expensive equipment, but not making much revenue yet, registering early might actually put money back in your pocket.
That is a huge detail. So the simple option actually has some strategic levers you can pull.
It does.
But we have to get to the scary part. Being the business has a dark side.
It has the darkest side. We talked about the strategic triangle. For a sole proprietorship, the control is high. You're the boss.
Sole control.
But the liability is unlimited.
Unlimited liability. It sounds like a cell phone plan, but I gather it's much, much worse.
It's a potential financial death sentence if things go wrong. Because there is no legal separation between you and the business.
Yeah.
There is no separation between your business debts and your personal assets. They're one and the same.
So let's play this out. I'm a sole proprietor. I'm a contractor, let's say. I build a deck for someone. The deck collapses.
Okay.
The client sues me for $200,000. My business bank account only has $5,000 in it. What happens?
Then they come for your personal checking account.
Okay.
If that's empty, they come for your car. If that's not enough, they can put a lien on your house or force a sale. They can garnish your future wages.
Everything is on the table. My entire personal life.
Everything. If you are a sole proprietor, you are effectively betting your entire personal net worth on your business performance. It's like you're free climbing a mountain without a rope. It's exhilarating, it's fast, you don't need much gear. But if you slip, there is nothing to catch you.
That explains why the sources say banks are often hesitant to lend to sole proprietorships. It's just too risky for them.
It is. From the bank's perspective, what are they lending against? There's no separate entity, and it lacks continuity.
What do you mean by that?
If you get sick, the business stops. If you die, the business effectively ceases to exist. It has the same mortality rate as you do.
But there is one silver lining on the tax front for sole props, right? The one-pocket reality.
Yes, because the income flows directly to your personal tax return form, T2125 usually. The losses do too.
So if I keep my day job and my side business loses money in the first year because I bought all that equipment,
You can use that business loss to offset the income from your day job.
so it lowers my overall tax bill.
It can, yes. You can actually lower the tax you pay on your salary. That is a very popular strategy for people testing the waters with a new venture.
Okay, so sole prop, high control, terrifying liability, simple tax. But let's say I don't want to climb the mountain alone. I want a partner. I need someone with money or skills that I don't have.
Then you enter the world of partnerships. This is the marriage of minds and debts.
And debts being the part that makes me nervous. The text defines a partnership pretty simply. Two or more people pooling resources to achieve a common goal.
Legally, it's quite fluid. You can form a partnership with a handshake. Oral agreements are technically valid.
But the sources seem to be screaming in all caps. Do not do this without a written agreement.
Absolutely. You must get a partnership agreement. Think of it as a prenup.
A business prenup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone is happy when they start the business. But what happens when you disagree on strategy? What happens if one partner wants to quit? What happens if one partner dies?
Right, all the what-ifs.
Without a written agreement, the default rules of the Partnership Act kick in, and usually that means the partnership just dissolves. It's messy. Very messy.
But the thing that really stood out to me in this section, and this is where I need you to walk me through the nightmare scenario, is the concept of mutual agency.
Ah, yes. Mutual agency. This is the feature of a general partnership that keeps lawyers up at night.
It sounds official, but what does it actually mean in practice? What does it let people do?
It means that every partner is an agent of the business. Practically, it means your partner can bind you to a contract without your permission or even your knowledge.
Wait, hold on. So if I have a business partner, let's call him Steve,
Okay, Steve.
and Steve decides, on a whim, that our consulting firm needs a $150,000 company car. He goes to the dealership, signs the lease in the company name.
You just bought a car. Or rather, the partnership did. Even if you explicitly told Steve, do not buy a car, if the dealership doesn't know about that internal rule, the contract is valid. You're both on the hook.
That is wild. But, okay, Steve signed it. It's his stupid decision. Surely he pays for it.
And here we arrive at joint and several liability.
Okay.
This is the term you need to tattoo on your arm if you're entering a partnership.
Joint and several. Break it down for me.
Joint means you're all liable together. The partnership is liable. Several means you are each liable individually.
What's the difference?
It means a creditor, the car dealership, the bank, the landlord can come after any of the partners for the full amount of the debt.
Not just their share. Not 50%.
The full amount. They don't care that you only own 50% of the business. They don't care that Steve was the one who signed the paper.
So if Steve flees the country,
They come to you for 100% of the money. If you are the partner with the deep pockets, maybe you have a house and savings, and Steve is broke, the creditors will target you.
oh, wow.
You are effectively ensuring your partner's judgment, their ethics, and their competence with your own life savings.
That is a massive amount of trust. It actually feels riskier than the sole proprietorship.
In some ways, it is.
At least when I'm alone, I know what mistakes I'm making. In a partnership, I'm liable for mistakes I didn't even know were happening.
That is exactly the risk assessment. You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And that is why there is a variant called the limited partnership, or LP.
The LP, this is the workaround. This is how you avoid that.
It's a structure designed to bring in money without exposing the investors to that joint and several nightmare.
Okay.
In an LP, you have two classes of people. You have the general partner, who runs the business and has the unlimited liability.
The person taking the risk. The one on the front lines.
And then you have limited partners.
the investors.
Fresh.
The money people.
Right. Their liability is limited strictly to their investment. If they put in $50,000, the most they can ever lose is that $50,000. They can't lose their house.
That sounds perfect. Why doesn't everyone just be a limited partner? What's the catch?
Because of the passive rule, there is a strict trade-off. To keep that liability shield, limited partners cannot be involved in the day-to-day management of the business.
They have to remain silent. Just give the money and that's it.
Essentially. They can't negotiate contracts. They can't manage employees. The moment a limited partner starts acting like a boss, starts giving orders, they can lose their limited status.
So they become a general partner.
The law says if you want to drive, you have to take the risk of crashing. They could be seen as a general partner and suddenly have that unlimited liability.
So you can be the money or you can be the boss, but you can't be both unless you accept the full liability.
Precisely. That's the deal.
Okay, so that's the partnership. High trust, scary liability for the general partners. But let's say we want the best of both worlds. We want to run the business, but we don't want to lose our shirts if it goes wrong. We want a shield.
Then you were talking about the corporation. This is where we shift from you are the business to creating an immortal person.
I love that phrasing. An immortal person. Legally, a corporation is a separate legal entity, right?
It is. It's a legal fiction, really. We create a person on paper. This person can own property, it can sign contracts, it can sue, and it can be sued. It is distinct from the humans who own it.
And this creates the corporate veil. I've heard that term.
That is the shield. Because the corporation is a separate person, its debts belong to it, not to you, the shareholder.
So if the company goes under.
If the corporation goes bankrupt, the creditors can strip the company's assets to the bone, but they generally cannot cross that line, that veil, to touch the shareholders' personal homes or savings.
That seems like the holy grail. Why doesn't everyone just do this immediately? Is it the cost? I have this image in my head that incorporating requires high-rise lawyers and thousands of dollars.
That is a very persistent myth. It's one that just won't die. The BDC source explicitly fact-checks this. If you incorporate federally in Canada, the government fee is roughly $200.
$200, that's it, not thousands.
And you can do it online in about 20 minutes. Now, granted, you might want a lawyer to help you set it up correctly so you don't make mistakes with the articles or the share structure.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the actual barrier to entry is remarkably low.
You mentioned federally. Is there a difference between federal and provincial incorporation?
Yes, there is. If you incorporate provincially, your protection and your name right are generally limited to that province.
So if I'm BC Inc., someone in Ontario can take the same name?
Potentially, yes. But if you incorporate federally, you have the right to use your name across the country. It gives you national protection.
So if I'm the Deep Dive Inc., federally, nobody in another province can steal my name?
Correct. It gives you much better brand protection if you plan to expand.
Okay, so it's cheap, it protects my assets. What's the catch? There has to be a catch.
The catch is administration, the maintenance,
Right.
the paperwork.
Right.
When you create a separate legal person,
Hmm.
you have to keep that person alive with paperwork.
The minute book. I read about that.
The minute book, the annual returns, separate tax filings. You have to understand the governance structure. A corporation has 3 layers: shareholders, directors, and officers.
In a big company like Apple, those are obviously different groups of people. But in a small business, isn't it just me?
It is usually just you. But, and this is crucial, you have to wear the hats separately.
What do you mean?
You are the shareholder, who is the owner. You, as the shareholder, elect yourself as the director who sets the strategy. And you, as the director, hire yourself as the officer, say the president, who manages the day-to-day.
So I have to hold a meeting with myself and take minutes.
Legally, yes. You have to sign resolutions. I, the director, authorize myself, the president, to sign this lease. It sounds silly, but it's vital.
Why?
If you don't do this, if you treat the company bank account like your personal piggy bank, you risk piercing the corporate veil.
Ah.
If you don't treat the company like a separate person, the courts won't either, and you could lose your liability protection.
That makes sense. You have to respect the structure to get the protection. But let's talk about money. This is the part I really want to dig into. People always say incorporate for the tax benefits, but how does that actually work?
Okay, so the Canadian tax system works on a principle called integration.
Integration.
Theoretically, the system is designed so that you pay the exact same amount of tax on a dollar, whether you earn it personally or through a corporation. In the end, it should be the same.
So if it's the same amount of tax, eventually, where is the benefit? I don't get it.
The benefit isn't in how much tax you pay ultimately.
Right.
It's in when you pay it.
Yeah.
It's all about deferral.
Deferral. Okay, walk me through that.
Let's use an analogy. Imagine 2 buckets. Bucket A is your corporation. Bucket B is your personal bank account.
Got it. 2 buckets.
When your business makes a profit, the money lands in bucket A, the corporation. The government takes a scoop out for tax. But thanks to the small business deduction, that scoop is very small.
How small?
On the first $500,000 of active income, the corporate tax rate is usually somewhere around 11 or 12%, depending on the province.
12%. That is incredibly low. My personal tax rate, if I was earning a good salary, could be 40 or even 50%.
Exactly. So after the government takes its tiny 12% scoop, you have 88 cents on the dollar left in bucket A.
Okay, so the money is sitting in the corporation.
As long as the money stays in bucket A, in the corporation, you can use it. You can buy new trucks, you can hire more staff, you can launch a marketing campaign. You are growing your business using 88-cent dollars.
Whereas if I was the sole proprietor,
The money would hit your personal account, the government would take 40 or 50% immediately, and you'd be trying to grow your business with 50-cent dollars.
that is a massive difference in leverage. A huge difference.
It is. The catch is, the moment you move the money from bucket A to bucket B,
When I pay myself.
right, when you pay yourself a salary or a dividends, you can buy groceries or pay your home mortgage, you pay the rest of the tax, the personal tax,
So you pay the personal tax eventually. It all evens out in the end.
eventually.
Uh-huh.
But by deferring it, by leaving it in the company, you get to use that capital to scale the business faster. It's essentially an interest-free loan from the government to help you grow.
That is the aha moment for me. It's not about tax evasion. It's about timing and growth.
Exactly. And combined with the ability to issue shares, you can have voting shares for control, non-voting shares for investors. The corporation is the ultimate engine for growth and scale.
So corporation,
Yep.
low liability, high admin, high growth potential. But all of these structures so far, sole prop, partnership, corp, they all assume one thing. They assume the goal is profit.
They do. They are designed to maximize return for the owners.
But what if that's not the main goal? What if the goal is to serve the people who use the business, the community?
Then we arrive at the cooperative. This is where the values point of our triangle really takes center stage.
The co-op. I think a lot of people hear co-op and they think of a small organic grocery store or maybe housing, but these are real businesses, right?
Oh, they're absolutely businesses,
Mm.
major businesses. They have revenue, they have expenses, they have balance sheets, but the ownership structure is inverted.
Inverted how?
They aren't owned by outside investors, they're owned by members.
And members can be the customers, right? Like at MEC, Mountain Equipment Co-op used to be, you'd buy a share for $5.
Yes, that's a consumer co-op. But you can also have worker co-ops where the employees own the factory,
Right.
or producer co-ops, which are huge in agriculture, farmers banding together to process their milk or grain.
The key distinction here seems to be democracy. In a corporation, democracy is based on dollars.
Yes.
If I have 1 million shares and you have 1 share, I have 1 million times more voting power than you.
Correct. Money buys control, plain and simple.
But in a co-op,
The rule is one member, one vote,
regardless of how much money you put in.
regardless. You could have invested $10,000 and I could have invested $10. But we have an equal say in electing the board of directors. Our votes count the same.
That completely changes the power dynamic. It makes a hostile takeover almost impossible, I'd imagine. You can't just buy up the votes.
It does. It anchors the business in the community. It forces the leadership to answer to the users, not just to capital. And this changes the economics, specifically how profits are shared.
Patronage dividends. This was a cool concept in the reading.
It is. In a corporation, dividends are paid based on how many shares you own. More shares, more money.
Right.
In a co-op, surplus profits are returned to members based on use, how much you participated.
So if it's a grocery co-op, if I shop there a lot.
If you bought 10% of the groceries sold that year, you get 10% of the surplus profit back. It's effectively a retroactive price cut. It rewards loyalty and participation, not just how much you invested.
That sounds fantastic for the members, but I can see why this structure struggles to get funding.
That is the strategic trade-off. You've hit it. Capital challenges. If I'm a venture capitalist, why would I invest in a co-op?
You can't get control.
I can't buy control because of the one member, one vote rule. And I don't get maximum profit because the surplus goes to the users. It's not designed for me.
So co-ops are often cash-strapped or have to find other ways.
They can be. They have to rely on member loans, retained earnings, or specific government programs. It requires a different kind of financial creativity. But for those who value community control over raw growth, it's the only structure that makes sense.
The sources mentioned the 7 principles of co-ops: voluntary membership, concern for community, and so on. It feels like the ethics are baked into the hardware.
The structure is the value. They are one and the same.
Which brings us to our final piece. We are seeing a trend where regular companies, corporations want to claim that they have values too. They want to say, hey, we aren't just about profit. And that brings us to the B Corp.
The B Corps. Now, we need to make a very important clarification right up top because this confuses everyone.
Okay. What is it?
Is B Corp a legal structure, like a partnership or a corporation?
I'm guessing no.
No. B Corp is not a legal structure. You cannot walk into a government office and register as a B Corp. It is not on the menu of options.
So what is it? If it's not a legal structure, what is it?
It is a certification. Think of it like organic on a carton of milk.
Yeah.
Or LEED certification for a green building. It is a third-party stamp of approval from a nonprofit called B Lab.
So technically a sole prop could be a B Corp. A corporation could be a B Corp.
Technically, yes, though it fits most naturally with incorporated entities because of the legal changes required.
So if it's just a sticker, why are we talking about it in a deep dive on legal structures?
Because it requires a legal change to get the sticker. This is the hook.
Ah, okay.
To become a certified B Corp, a company usually has to amend its articles of incorporation.
The birth certificate of the company we talked about.
Right. They have to legally embed purpose into their DNA.
What does that actually look like in the legal text? What do you write?
Well, traditionally, under corporate law, the directors have a fiduciary duty to the corporation, which is often interpreted as shareholder primacy. Your job is to maximize profit for the shareholders.
Right.
B Corp demands that you shift to stakeholder consideration.
So you are legally binding yourself to care about things other than money.
You are legally empowering the directors to consider the impact of their decisions on employees, the community, and the environment, alongside profit.
So let's go back to my hypothetical board meeting. If the directors have to choose between strategy A, which makes $1 million but pollutes the local river, and strategy B, which makes $500,000 but saves the river.
In a traditional interpretation of corporate law, they might be sued by shareholders for choosing strategy B. They left money on the table, they breached their duty.
Right.
But if they have that B Corp language in their articles, they have air cover. They can say, no, our legal duty is to all stakeholders, including the river and the community that relies on it.
That is a fascinating shift. It protects the conscience of the company legally.
It does. And to get the certification, you have to pass the B Impact Assessment. It's a rigorous test. You score points on governance, workers, community, environment. You need 80 points out of 200 to certify.
And people do this for what? Just branding? To look good.
Branding is part of it, for sure. It differentiates you in a market full of greenwashing, but it's also about talent. The workforce today, especially younger generations, wants to work for companies that stand for something. It's a powerful recruitment and retention tool.
So we've looked at the whole menu. We have the sole proprietorship, which is the risky solo climb,
Right.
the partnership, the big trust exercise,
Mm-hmm.
the corporation, the tax-efficient shield, and the democratic community.
Mhm.
And then B Corp as this badge of honor you can wear on top.
That's the landscape.
How does a listener actually choose? It feels like there is a natural life cycle here, a progression.
There often is. The decision matrix usually starts small. You start as a sole proprietorship because it's cheap, and you can write off your initial losses against other income.
But then you grow, you hit that $30,000 threshold, start hiring people. The unlimited liability starts to keep you up at night.
So you incorporate. You create the separate entity, you put up the shield, you start using the two-bucket strategy to defer tax and reinvest in the business.
And maybe if you have a specific mission, you look at co-ops or B Corp certification down the line.
Exactly. But it all comes down to those trade-offs we started with. Sole prop is low cost, but high risk.
Partnership is shared load, but also shared risk, which is terrifying.
Corporation is high admin, but low risk to your personal assets.
And co-op is high values, but low control of traditional capital.
You got it.
It really highlights that business isn't just about the product you sell, it's about the vehicle you build to sell it, the legal machine behind it all.
You know, if we zoom out for a final thought, we've been talking about legal persons. The corporation is a person in the eyes of the law.
The immortal person.
For a long time, we designed that person to be, frankly, a bit of a sociopath. We told it, your only job is to eat money and grow.
Profit at all costs. That was the mandate.
But with the rise of B Corp and the continued resilience of co-ops, I think we are seeing a shift. We are starting to ask these legal persons to have a conscience, to have a soul to go with the legal body.
That's a powerful idea. We aren't just building money machines anymore. We're building citizens. Corporate citizens.
Precisely. So if you are listening to this and you are sketching out a business plan on a napkin, don't just ask, how do I make the most money?
Ask yourself, who do I want this business to be when it grows up?
Because the structure you choose now will determine the answer to that question later.
Well, on that note, I'm going to go check my own articles of incorporation and make sure I'm not accidentally liable for anything Steve did.
Probably a wise move.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you on the next one.
Design, create, communicate. I want that.